Welcome back to California Cooking and happy holidays. Coming up on today's show, I'm taking you to a steak restaurant unlike any other in town. It is a great spot to visit if you're looking for something special this holiday season. Then it's a cozy Christmas Eve dinner for four. I'm making meatloaf and scalloped potatoes. Let's start with a steakhouse exclusively serving 100% grass-fed Wagyu beef. I got the chance to indulge in Matú's tasting menu, along with some of their other specialties, and boy, was it good. Take a look. You guys are Pittsburgh guys, originally. And that here you are serving steak. Did you know each other from Pittsburgh, or you just?
No, we met a couple years ago, just kind of by virtue of this project, and you know, funny enough, we were both like, yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh, he's from Pittsburgh, and we both thought we were born in the same hospital.
True story. We were convinced for probably a whole year we were born in the same hospital, and our parents told us we both were not born in that hospital, so we're like.
So this long lost friends story is, that all fell apart after that. Yeah. Is it a daunting idea to open up a restaurant, and you specifically don't call it a steakhouse in Los Angeles, where, look, there's a lot of vegans, there's a lot of vegetarians.
Well, we're definitely swimming upstream river here.
Yes.
I mean, the vegan movement is real in LA. We think that if you have the right beef, which this beef is 100% grass-fed Wagyu, it's amazing stuff, and both in healthfulness and quality, we think we can turn any vegan into a steak eater by coming to this restaurant.
It's happened. It happened one night. We converted a vegetarian back to the dark side. So.
Oh no! I heard that this restaurant, the concept, had it kind of like this windy, interesting story until it actually came to life.
It's been a journey, to say the least. Years and years and years, and kind of all of us, myself, Scott, and the rest of us, we kind of have all, over the years, have been obsessed with beef and steak, and we came across First Light Farms, and it was just this unbelievable product. This 100% grass-fed Wagyu beef, we think, can make into an incredible steak and also beef eating experience in this restaurant. So, we have been food fanatics for a long time, and we have spent years and years developing how to cook a steak.
It's a true testament to the product. I mean, ultimately it comes back to the quality of the beef, and this restaurant really exists because we believe we have the best beef.
Where is this farm?
It's in New Zealand. So First Light Farms is a cooperative of farmers across the North and South Island of New Zealand that are just doing it right. It's 100% grass-fed, grass-finished Wagyu beef. So Wagyu is renowned for having the greatest intramuscular fat, or marbling as it's called. And a combination of that and the fact that it is grass-fed really lends itself to having a truly unique flavor.
Wagyu, what does that mean? The term Wagyu, what is that? A type of cow?
It's a classification of breeds of cattle, so that are Japanese in origin.
Yes. I mean, interesting, because usually when you sit down at a steak restaurant, how would you like your steak cooked? You guys don't ask that question here.
We tell you.
You tell you how you're gonna have, and why is that?
Well, we spent so long trying to develop what we believe is the perfect temperature. We said that's warm red, and we tried to define it, and it's warm and red throughout. It's not medium rare, it's not rare.
Don't label it, you don't have to.
Right.
One of the things that sets you guys apart is this tasting menu that you have. And I heard the concept was one of the founders of this restaurant was in Paris or something and saw something like this and said, hey, this is a cool concept?
Well, so I think the story is Jerry, one of the other founders, who's the founder of some of like Sugarfish and some of the other businesses.
Cheeseburger.
Yep. And he had a trip to the south of France, and I think he had kind of the culinary epiphany of steak.
Where all culinary epiphanies happen.
Yeah. Right. He had an incredible bite of steak, and I think that kind of set the spark for really putting in all the research and testing every beef out there. So
okay, this tasting menu though, what is this? This is a cool idea, right?
When you go to most steakhouses, you have a steak and a side, and it's great. But we think there's much more than just a steak and a side. So we call it a kind of a beef eating experience. And there's so many great bites, not just steak, but tartare, braised dishes, broth. And we think that you should appreciate all these different parts.
Sure, yeah.
And I think we've kind of really perfected this Wagyu dinner experience. And you kind of sit back, relax, trust us, have bite after bite of an amazing food. It creates something that's unlike any other restaurant out there.
It's a fun dining experience, too.
It is.
And for those who are non-committal, like to commit to a big steak, I kind of like the idea of tasting a couple different things. And I think when people think, oh man, a tasting menu at a place like this must be a fortune. And honestly, the price point for your tasting menu is fantastic.
And and that's what we're really going for. We really didn't want to be the restaurant that had the long, drawn-out tasting menu that comes at a king's ransom that you only do maybe on an anniversary or a special occasion. We wanted people to be able to say they can come in and enjoy a great steak dinner at a price that doesn't kill them.
We have to talk about, because I actually saw this online when I looked up the restaurant, the Philly cheesesteak situation. Now, you guys are from Pittsburgh, but you're going to Philly here, what is the deal with the Philly cheesesteak you guys serve?
We love the Philly cheesesteak, and Ryan and I are both from Pittsburgh, but we're East Coast adjacent, Pennsylvania adjacent.
That's right.
So we just fell in love with the Philly cheesesteak. All the other two founders, Mike and Jared, they're both from the East Coast as well. So we just have this affinity for the Philly cheesesteak, and it's a great sandwich. And we started, experimenting different bun styles, different cheeses, different, combinations and cuts of meat. And by the end of it, we think we had the best Philly cheesesteak out there.
Okay. Now, have you had people from Philly in to taste them and tell you? Because I'm sure they'll be honest. They won't hold back.
When you tell the Philly people that you have a Philly cheesesteak, they come in the Eagles jerseys,
They're doubtful in the beginning.
Oh, sure.
They're doubtful, but I think we have a pretty high success rate of Philly natives coming here and loving the cheesesteak. So it's great.
You serve it for lunch, right? That's the only thing on the menu for lunch some days?
We just started opening up for lunch service Wednesday through Sunday, and we serve it during lunch, just cheesesteaks and chips. Very simple. We do serve some cheesesteaks at dinner, starting at 5:30 at the bar only. Have to be very limited with it.
Because word's gotten out.
Yeah.
Word's gotten out. Word's gotten out. We get all the Philly natives coming in.
Or sometimes a good dessert. If they're done with dinner, they can just go to the bar, have a cheesesteak, and it's happened a couple times.
I'd rather have that than a piece of cake any day. Oh my God.
Voila. All right.
Wow.
Matú Philly cheesesteak. It's a long hot pepper on top, so I'll let you be warning, it's a little spicy.
I was just told this is one of the best things ever to be eaten, and I might have to agree with that.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
For appetizer, entree, or dessert.
This grill, we spent an incredible amount of time trying to figure out what was going to be the best grill to work for us.
I've never seen that where it's back like that.
It's called the Brasero, and that area is where it's a really simple design. You throw logs into the back, they catch on fire, coals fall to the bottom, and then you cool the coals forward. It's a very simple, easy way of cooking a steak. There's no gimmicks, there's no...
And you designed this?
I did. I worked with a grill designer.
What kind of wood?
The wood is a combination of red or white oak, depending on time of year and how the quality of the wood is coming in. But there we go. We got a great first sear.
That was so fast. To get the sear on that was like seconds. Okay, how do we top the Philly cheesesteak situation?
Well, we're gonna have a 5-course dinner right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, let's do it.
First course is a Japanese-styled bone broth. 24-hour simmered Wagyu bones. It's a great way to start the meal.
Yeah, taste that ginger.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, round two.
Round two.
We have our Japanese-styled beef tartare. So really simple, classic style tartare, flavored with a couple different things. There's a little bit of spice in there from the yuzu kosho, which is a Japanese chili paste. So we recommend that you mix with the egg yolk and put on the crostini. So.
That is really good.
We have the next course in our beef eating journey. This is the center cut filet, cooked on the plancha with our House 47 salad. It's a savory tomato vinaigrette.
Oh my gosh, that steak is delicious. Round 4.
This is the 8-hour braised beef cheek over celeriac puree. So it's a really traditional, classic tomato-based braise.
And a totally different vibe than everything that's come before it. The meat, you don't need a knife.
Nope.
At all. Nope. It's like grandma on steroids.
Uh-huh.
My grandma couldn't pull this one off. Sorry, Grandma, I love you.
Okay.
Is this the grand finale?
This is the grand finale.
Wow.
We have the ribeye and our grilled broccolini. Right over here is going to be the eye muscle, and to the right of that is going to be the cap. And it's paired simply with just some grilled broccolini marinated with garlic and chili flakes.
And the flavor of this meat, so much different than the others. Honestly, I don't know that I've met two people who are more passionate about what they do. The hard work shows, guys. It does. Congrats.
Thank you.
Coming up, this Christmas Eve, I want a cozy dinner at home, so I'm making meatloaf and scalloped potatoes. That's coming up next. When I'm thinking about a holiday menu, sometimes I want something fancy or festive, but this Christmas Eve, I would love nothing more than a cozy dinner at home, so a creamy scalloped potato is the perfect place to start. I was thinking about something cozy that I'd like to make this Christmas Eve, and it's just gonna be the 4 of us, just a small little family dinner, and there's nothing cozier than meatloaf and scalloped potatoes. So that's what we're gonna make this Christmas Eve, at least at my house. And for me, scalloped potatoes is actually something, my mom would make scalloped potatoes probably a handful of times a year, but every time she did, it was my favorite meal of the year. I love scalloped potatoes. They also remind me of my Grandma Bessie, because I think she didn't cook a whole lot, but I do remember her making that from time to time. So I'm gonna start with 2 onions, and I'm gonna try to cut them relatively thin. I'm also gonna add a little bit of Parmesan cheese, which technically might make it an au gratin, but I'm gonna go with scalloped. So nothing is simpler than potato and onion, and just the way they all cook together in cream or half and half, milk, whatever you wanna use, is magical. Onion, you know what, I might just do 1 onion. Potatoes, just your regular old, I got a bag of russet potatoes. Depending on how many people is how many potatoes you'd use. I used about a half a bag. Peeled, and what's really gonna help, now my mom never had a mandolin, she just cut them into slices. I'm gonna do the mandolin, which helps you cut uniform slices of potatoes. But it's very dangerous and it scares me, and I'm gonna be very careful. But this is what's nice about the mandolin, is your potato slices are perfect every time. Potatoes are done, so I'm just combining the onion and the potato so it's all mixed within. A little bit of onion, a little bit of potato. So I have some half and half that I warmed up on the stove. To the half and half, instead of making a roux, which is the butter, the flour, I'm just going to add a little bit of cornstarch to warm half and half. And I probably have about 2 cups of liquid. To the milk, a fat pinch of salt. That's what's tricky about these potatoes. You have to season them, a good amount of salt. Pepper or white pepper is nice if you don't want black pepper flakes. Into our milk, I'm gonna grate a few cloves of garlic. My mom never used garlic growing up, but I kind of like the idea of a little bit of garlic. 2 big cloves of garlic. On top of our potatoes, hot half and half. Garlic, salt, pepper, a little bit of cornstarch. Press that down, make sure everybody gets in there. Some really good, real grated Parmesan cheese. This is the real stuff. One last touch before it goes in the oven, some butter. A few dots of butter on top to get it nice and brown, and butter and potatoes, you know, they just go together. So maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons. Now we're gonna cover it with some parchment and foil and I'll pop it in the oven. I'm gonna go at 375 and check it in an hour. The potatoes are bubbling and I turn the broiler on just for a second to kind of brown the top. And then some pretty green chives on top is a nice little touch. Coming up, to serve with my scalloped potatoes, the perfect partner, meatloaf. I'll show you how I put mine together, coming up next. Now for the main entree this Christmas Eve. It is such a simple but comforting dish and really delicious. It's my take on an old-fashioned meatloaf. Hi, Julie. Are you thinking about meatloaf? Hi, Theo. Hi. Merry Christmas, baby's first Christmas. Have you been naughty or nice? Yeah, you've been naughty. Well, maybe for this Christmas Eve, you'll just have something pureed, which seems more your speed. Meatloaf time, meatloaf. It's been a while since I've made a good meatloaf. You know, there was one recipe I made, it was years ago, I stumbled upon Giada De Laurentiis' turkey meatloaf, and in it she did feta and black olives. I'm not doing that, but one thing she did put in her meatloaf, which I really liked, is sun-dried tomatoes. So this is going to be a beef meatloaf. You could do turkey, but I'm gonna use a little of the sun-dried tomato. It's just like that little surprise within the meatloaf. And gives it a little bit of an Italian twist, I guess, with Parmesan cheese. And so, yeah, Theo. So I'm gonna get a few of those out, chop them up. These are in oil. I wouldn't use the ones that aren't, they might be too dry. And then the beef I got is an 80-20 because you want it to have a decent amount of fat. But to me, meatloaf and scalloped potatoes, very few things to me more yummy than that. Now in our bowl, we have the ground beef. And then to that, a lot of times when I do onion in my meatloaf, I'll cook it ahead of time. Just to make life easier, I'm going to use a shallot and I'm gonna do a super fine dice so I don't have to cook it ahead of time. I'm gonna just cheat a little bit and skip a few steps because it's the holidays and I don't wanna be spending all day cooking. A pretty fine dice, and a shallot is just a gentler onion flavor. It's not quite as strong as a white onion would be. And since I'm over here, I've got my flat leaf parsley, and I'm gonna do the same, a fine dice. And the thing about onion and parsley, they add moisture to the meatloaf, and that's the thing. You want your meatloaf to be nice and juicy. So the more things that have water, the better. They're going in. Crack an egg. Our sun-dried tomatoes going in. Just a handful. I'm gonna dice up a few cloves of garlic. Like we said, we wanna keep adding moisture into our meatloaf, so I like ketchup, Worcestershire, a couple of tablespoons of that, a couple of tablespoons of ketchup, a nice fat pinch of salt, pepper, some Parmesan cheese, about a cup of breadcrumbs. And then take a fork and we just kind of get everything mixed together. You don't want to overmix the beef. Sometimes you got to just go in with your hands at some point. Now, because I don't have a loaf pan, and even if I did, I just kind of like the idea of free-forming it on a sheet pan with some parchment. So everything's kind of uniform in size. You don't want one end to necessarily cook faster than the other or in the middle. I'm not gonna do anything fancy with my topping. Good old school ketchup is what I like on top of my meatloaf. I've seen people, add brown sugar and all kinds of, you could do all kinds of fancy stuff. But today I'm not doing fancy. I just like classics turn on a Christmas movie, and eat some meatloaf in the oven. Can't wait. The meatloaf, amazing. This took only about 30 minutes, and look at that. You can see the edges are nice and browned, and I'm gonna just cut into a little bit of this meatloaf. Just to taste test for you guys. I might serve myself a little bit of these creamy scalloped potatoes too. Just a little taste. Really good. To me, it's simple, it's homey, the perfect kind of Christmas Eve dinner. For the recipes for my meatloaf and scalloped potatoes, you can follow us on Instagram at KTLA California Cooking. Well, that does it for us. We're wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Say bye, Theo. There, we got it. We got it. Okay.